The Fall of America by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Chapter 41. The Day of America's Downfall. Allah manifests the fall of America. He desires to make America fall as a warning to her brothers in Europe. White Americans and Germans, Allah has taught me, are the most wicked of the white race. The wicked deeds that have been performed and are still being performed by white Americans upon the so-called Negroes, their slaves, are the worst in the annals of history. They have been clever enough in their wickedness to make the so-called Negro slaves love them, though they are their open enemies and murderers. Allah, in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, to whom be praise forever, now judges the American whites and is causing America's fall and total destruction. Egypt, under Pharaoh, is an example, fulfilling the signs and other prophecies of the doom of this people, as foretold by the prophets from Noah to Jesus. Moses and Jesus are the most outstanding prophets in the history of the Caucasian race for the past 4,000 years. There are several other contemporaries, but Moses and Jesus are the major prophets of the white race's history. The whole of the civilized world today, as prophesied in Isaiah, is against the white man of America. Allah hates the wicked American whites and threatens to remove them from the face of the earth. Since white Americans and the white race in general have deceived the entire world of black people and their brethren, brown, red, and yellow, Allah now is causing these people to wake up and see the white race as it really is, the created enemy of the darker people. As we see today, there is a general awakening of the darker people into the knowledge of self and the knowledge of their age-old 6,000 years enemies all over the earth. The American white race cannot sincerely give the so-called Negroes, their slaves, a square deal. She only desires to deceive them. False equality. Today, America is trying, against her will, to give the so-called Negro civil rights, which is against the very nature and will of the white race, for the first time since the black man has been here. America falsely offers him social equality in certain parts of the country. This social equality consists mostly of permitting the American black race to mix openly with the white man and his woman, the devils. The actual idea, however, is to grant the so-called Negro social equality among the lower class of whites. This is done so that the scriptures, wherein they prophesy that the white man tempts and corrupts the so-called Negroes with his women, might be fulfilled. God has taught me that the white race was grafted unalike, and being unalike, it is able to attract the black man and black woman, getting them to do all the evil and indecency known to the white race. Doom prophesied. One of the prophets of the Bible prophesied in regard to America. As the morning spreads abroad upon the mountains, a great and strong people set in battle array. Joel chapter 2, verse 2. This is the setting of the nations for a showdown to determine who will live on earth. The survivor is to build a nation of peace, to rule the people of the earth forever under the guidance of Almighty God Allah. With the nations setting forth for a final war at this time, God pleads for his people, the inheritors of the earth, the so-called Negroes. The so-called Negro is the prey of the white man of America, being held firmly in the white man's power, along with 2 million Indians who must be redeemed at this time, and will be, if the so-called Negro turns to his Redeemer. The problem of the American black man is his unwillingness to be separated from his 400-year-old enemies. The problem, therefore, is harder to solve, especially with the enemy trying to fascinate the Negro with his lower-class girls and women, arraying them partly nude before the Negroes in every public news media, cheap daily newspapers and magazines, radio, TV, and the Negro is quick to imitate. The problem between these two people, separating and dignifying the so-called Negroes so they may be accepted and respected as equals or superiors to other nations, must be solved. This is God's promise to the so-called Negro, the lost and found members of the original black nation of the earth. This promise was made through the mouths of his prophets, Bible and Quran, that he would separate us from our enemies, dignify and make us the masters, after this wicked race has been judged and destroyed for its own evils. But, as I said, the solving of this problem, which means the redemption of the Negro, is hard to do since he loves his enemies. See Bible, Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 15, 18, Psalms, Isaiah, Matthew chapter 25, verse 32, and Revelations chapter 14. The manifestation of Allah and judgment between the so-called Negro and the enemy of God and the nation of Islam will make the so-called Negro see and know his enemy and himself, his people, his God, and his religion. Rejection of self. We hear the statements of black educational, political, and Christian classes, which express their love for the white man, publicly asking to be his brothers, if not his brothers-in-law. Now this class wants to make it clear to the world that they really love the white race and not the black race. This means they want to be white instead of black. The devils have made them hate black. They reject the thought of black ever being the ruler or equal with the ruler. They ask boldly for inferiority, not only for themselves, but for their people. They want to absorb themselves and their kind, especially the so-called American Negro, into the race of white people, thus ending the black race. It is just the opposite with Allah God, myself, and my followers. We want out completely. We want no claim to kinship with the people who, by nature, are not our kin. Read from Genesis to the Revelations in the Bible, and from Surah 2 to Surah 114 of the Holy Quran. By no means are the so-called Negroes and the whites kin. God did not create them brothers, nor did he create them to ever become brothers. One is created an enemy against the other. And since the righteous are more powerful than the wicked, Allah, the God of righteousness, set a time of reckoning for the enemy, the white man, of the righteous. Separation. We want separation. We want a home on this earth we can call our own. We want to go for self and leave the enemy who has been sentenced to death by Allah. Revelations chapter 20, verses 10 through 14, from the day he was created. See this subject in the Bible and Quran. No one, white, black, brown, yellow, or red, can prove to me by any scriptures of Allah God sent by one of the prophets of Allah God that we should not be separated from the white race, that we should believe and follow the religion dictated, shaped, and formed by the white race's theologians. The coming of Allah and the judgment of the wicked world is made clear by the prophetic sayings of the prophets. The so-called reverends and the proud intellectual class are doomed to destruction with the enemy if they remain with him instead of joining unto Allah, who loves them and who will deliver them and the nation of Islam. The so-called Negro masses must be warned of the grave mistake they make and following the leadership of those who love and befriend their murderers. This will not get them freedom or civil rights. America is falling. Her doom has come, and none, said the prophets, shall help her in the day of her downfall. In the Bible, God pleads with you to fly out of her, America, and seek refuge in Him. Revelations chapter 18, verse 4. It certainly will change your minds about following a doomed people, a people who hate you and your kind, and who call one who teaches the truth about them a hater. They are the producers of haters of us. We are with God and the righteous. Purchase the books, CDs, and DVDs of the life-giving teachings at store.finalcall.com. Listen to the messages of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan 24/7 at finalcallradio.com. Watch the Nation of Islam's weekly and live broadcasts at NOI.org.